So now going back to agenda for today, we did saw access control on the very first day. We did see how one can create a user account, how one can create access roles, how groups work in Archer, what are access control reports. And then yesterday we did see about application builder, how to build an application from scratch, what are types of applications available in Archer, what are the statuses one can have with regards to the application. Then we did an overview about majority of the crucial and important fields in Archer. We did see values list field, date field, text field. Then we also saw numeric field, right? And then we, at the end, we had an overview about the application builder reports. So application builder reports usually provides a summary of the entire application, fields within the application, right? And it could be used for bunch of purposes. Now, today we are primarily going to talk about reporting in Archer, that how to build up a report in Archer, what kinds of reports are available to us in Archer. Then we are also going to talk about data import, how we can perform data import in Archer, what should be the file one needs to prepare, how should be formatting of the file, what is the type of data you need to format according to Archer specifics. We are all going to look at that in today's session. So now I will go ahead and log into the tool. All right, so I am now logged into the tool, and we would be taking a look at the reporting area of Archer. So now in simple definition, uh, if we were to define anything about a report signifies collection of records. So several records, if we want to have a collection of, or we want a group of records having specific conditions, specific criteria, right, which gives us some kind of purpose, and which even helps the business to carry out their day-to-day activities, which may be used in terms of performing assessments or putting up a regular check or getting information about how many records are pending some kind of actions, or how many records for which action has not been taken, somebody's not working on it, etc. So there are a bunch of uses as far as reports are concerned, and report is one of the most crucial features of Archer. So reporting has been done in several ways in Archer. We'll just talk about that, but before that I'll just give you a glimpse about reports first. So I will go on one of the application, and I'll simply click on the application, and this particular page what you see over here helps us build up our own report what we want. So I'll talk about that quickly, and then I'll go to how a report is created from scratch, and I'll talk about permissions, what level of permission you need to create reports in Archer, and what types of reports are available. So the moment I go on application test or any other application, I'll be redirected to a landing page, and then I'll be able to click on modify for this. So here in the modify, from the last session what we saw, that certain fields what I curate in the application would be readily available. So those are all these fields which are readily available to me. Now if I feel like that I want certain kind of modifications over here, if I want to add up new fields, I want to remove some fields, okay, then how do I do it? So I feel like from the application I do want to add up certain fields, like I want to add up devices, then I may want to add up email address, I want to add up image, I want to add up external and internal link, then I also feel like I may want to enter up subform count, submit date, etc. So they're all available here. The moment you double click it, they all will be present over here. And then I can simply just hit on search without providing any filters or sorting or so. and I get the result like this. I get the result like this in this format. And then if I simply try to save it, I can say my report has been created. Okay. This is in very simple definition how a report in Archer looks like, or how a report can be created in Archer on a very low level or very simplistic level. Now let's go a little back to the basics of reporting. Okay. Now remember that we went to access control, and then in access control we did create a role, and then within the role we did provide certain permissions. So I'm choosing one of the access roles from my created access role, and I'm going on rights, and within the rights I choose the name of the application. So you see this option over here, save report. Now it is important for me to enable this option of save report, where I have to provide create, read, or update rights. Then and then only personal reports, which is again one of the types of reports in Archer, personal reports are available to me for creation, updation, and I can read it. Okay, so it is very important for me to have this rights enabled. Okay, we'll take a look in the moment with another user. Of course, system administrators have full privileges, but we'll log in with a normal user and we'll try to see how a personal report can be created. Now, as the name itself suggests, personal, right? So that report, what you create, is going to be completely personal to you. That report is not even visible to admins or any other user in the system. That specific report, what you create as a personal report, is only and only for you. Nobody else can have access to that report. Nobody else can delete that record. Nobody else can update that record. That is only with the user who has created that. But in order to create it, it is very important for me to provide these rights. If I do not provide these rights, then I will not be able to create personal reports. So this is the primary thing, that in the access role I give create, read, and update rights. Okay, and then I go ahead and create a report. So I have this enabled, and now I'm going to choose a user with whose account I am going to log in. So I'll choose 30 test, and I already see that I have got a role onto his profile. Okay, so let me log in with 30 test. Let me log in with 30 test, and let me try to see how a report is being created. Okay, so now I will open up an incognito mode, and I will try to log in with this user. Okay, so I am here and I am able to see the application test, and I can see all these data in the application. So now I feel like I do want to create a report at the very basic level. Okay, at the very basic level, I do want to create a report. And since I've already given the privileges, I'll hit on search and I'll just click on save as new report. Now you will see that this global report is disabled for me because I have not given any kind of global rights. Only personal report, what we see here, is enabled for me. So I create a personal report like test personal report 2023. Okay, I just give this as a name and I save it. So now my report has been created. My personal report has been created. Now let's try to validate certain things. Okay, let's try to validate. If I click on related reports, I will see that this particular report, test underscore personal report 2023, is available with this user account with whom I logged in, which is 30 test. Now, as I said earlier, that personal reports are very personal and it's not available even to the system administrators or any other user. Okay. Now let's try to log in with my account, system admin account, and let me try to see whether am I able to access this report, read this report, update this report or not. Okay, so I will go back to my account. I will refresh my page and then I go to application test and I click on related reports. Now, as you can see, to me, it does not show up the report. No personal reports available. And at the same time, for this guy, I can see test underscore personal report 2023. So this is one of the feature with personal reports in Archer, that with personal reports in place, okay, we can only see the report what has been created by the user, right? And he himself is able to see it. Nobody else, including the admins, can see a personal report created by any particular user. Okay. Now let's try to test one more scenario and then we will get to the details about filters and sortings about the report. Now let me try to show you one more scenario regarding permissions about report. So what happens now if I remove the permission, okay, of this particular access role and I'm not giving any sort of permissions. So I remove create permissions, and I'm also removing update permissions. Okay, I'm just giving read permissions for this access role and I save it. Now, can anyone tell me what should be the output if I log in with this account, right? 30 test. Will I be able to create reports? Will I be able to update reports? I will not be able to update. I will not be able to create. Okay, I won't be able to do any of that. Uh, on report. So let's try to go to the application again and see. So I am here, and as you see, this save, that means create, is disabled for me. I can no longer save a report. So that means if I cannot save, if I try to even modify the existing report, okay, let's say this report is existing, now I make some changes over here, okay, like I remove this field and I just keep this 4 fields in the system and I hit on search. Now I made the changes, but if I cannot save it, then that means I cannot even update the report. Okay, this is all temporary. Without saving, this change will go away. So I did not give update rights or create rights. Okay, and that's the reason my personal reports, okay, I'm not talking about global reports here, just my personal reports, I am not able to create it. Neither I am able to modify it. I just can read the personal reports what is already existing in the system. Okay, this is how a basic personal report in Archer would work with regards to the permissioning, with regards to basic creation of reports. I did create the access role, I gave the permissions, and then I was able to create my personal reports. Now let's get into a little bit depth about reports, that what exactly I can do around with reports in Archer. Okay, so having said that, I will give my rights back to this particular user in terms of reporting at first, and I give save and close. So I've given rights back to the user. Now I go on application test, okay, and now I click on this modify page. So now I have this fields. We have already seen you can, just expand this list and you can add up the fields. whatever is present, and then you are good to go with the search. But now I feel like I do want to put up certain conditions. I don't want all the records what is present in the application to be seen to me. I just want a very specific or a limited number of records to be visible to me in this report. Then how do I do that? So here comes the filters in report. So with filters in mind, I can give several conditions over here. So let's try to see that I do want the records which has been created, in just last 15 days or so. So what I do is I give first published, then I choose last, and then I go ahead and choose it back to 15 days, and I hit on search. So as you can see, from 29 records, my search has been narrowed down just to 4 results, because only these 4 results satisfy the criteria of records which are created in last 15 days. Okay, sorry, over here, first published. So only these 4 records out of 29 satisfy this criteria. So only these records are displayed to me. Now, if I feel like I still want to add up, more conditions, how can I do that? So what I'll do is I've selected this, and now I will also select like value to a field, again a values list field, and I'll choose some value that contains in progress. And I will give condition as 1 and 2, right? So that means both of these conditions should be satisfied. So now I'll again go ahead and hit on search. So unfortunately, I don't see any result. That means none of the records are satisfying this condition. So let me try to change this condition from 1 and 2, or maybe let me try to change it from last 15 days to 45 days, and then let's try to see. Yes, so now we do see 18 records in place. Okay, we do see 18 records here in place where I can actually take a look at all of them, and these 18 records satisfy my criteria or condition what I have given in the filters. Then again, I feel like let's make it a little bit more complex. Okay, so let's do it this way. So I'll add up one more condition, and I will say based on uh, let's choose any numbers. Okay, I'm giving a range that between numbers should be anywhere between 1 to 100, and then I give this condition 1 and 2 or 3, like this. So either combination of this or this separately should be followed, and I need to get the output for this particular criteria. So firstly, let's add up a number in the list over here. So I go ahead and add up a number, and let's try to see what I get as the output over here. So I see 23 of them. Maybe based on the numbers, I have 23 records which is satisfying the criteria, and it's an or condition. So either the numbers or combination of first published and value to a field should be satisfied. So if that is satisfied, then I'll get the output. Okay, either condition, either or condition should be satisfied. So this is how I can go ahead and customize my filters, and there are a bunch of options available to customize. If we talk about dates, okay, then you get a lot of range in between, or a lot of operators, I would say, that if first published, if you want records published in last 1 month, last 45 days, last quarter, right, you can simply just go ahead and keep on changing the values from here. Okay, you can choose in form of dates, you can choose in form of months, quarters, years, minute, hours, right? Completely up to what kind of criteria you have and on what basis do you want to search. You can go ahead and choose to do that. So you can go ahead and modify this, and after that, if you feel like I don't want to use last, I want to use, greater than, then I can say, if I want the list beginning 2023, so I can simply say that beginning 1st January 2023, right? Any records created after 1st of January, okay, I do want in the list. So I can simply choose this way. I can simply choose greater than, okay, and I can just put it out this way. Then if I feel like I still want modifications to this date field, let's try to explore few more options. Okay, now let's go a little back and then choose the operator from greater than to between. So if I want records created specific in between two time zones, okay, between 10 days or 5 days, if I do not want, or I do want to put up specific dates in place, I can put up this dates with this between operator. Similarly, if I want prior to today, okay, so prior to today means any record which has been created prior to today, meaning before today. Okay, all the records created before today will be listed in the report. And after today, it does not make sense with submit date, but rather if you choose something like due date or reminder date or any other date where we know there is a future date associated. So you can choose that field from here and you can try to search up that field and choose the operator accordingly. So with different fields you get different operators. This was the case with date field. Okay, you can choose any of these options in between which is a requirement on your side. Okay, and if we talk about values list field, the operators would change. For values list field, you see four operators. One which is contains, does not contains, equals, and does not equals. Now what happens is when you choose contains, it means that value to a field can have multiple values as well. It can have in progress, it can have complete, it can have not started. Okay, it can have multiple values from the list like this. And if I change it to equals, that means the record should have all three values to be satisfied in the output. Whereas with contains, if any one of this is present, it will show me in the output. And whereas with equals, the values on a record should exactly be equal to in progress, incomplete, or not started. You cannot just skip or say that either or is possible. Either or is only possible with contains or does not contain. Does not contain exclude the condition that any other statuses except in progress should be applicable. Like this, if I just choose incomplete, okay, then any other status except incomplete should be available to us as the output. And same goes the case with does not equal. So does not equal not incomplete or not started, right? And you can choose to custom the operator over here. Similarly, for a numeric field as well, you do get between as a range. Okay, you can provide up range between 1 to 100, then you can even choose less than 100, more than 100, etc. So I choose less than 100, so it covers between 0 to 100, greater than 100, any number after 100. Okay, does not equal a specific number or equals a specific number. Okay, you can choose operators like this. Similarly, you can choose an operator for a text field as well. We saw it for a date field, we saw it for a values list field, We saw it for numeric numbers. Now let's take a look at text field. So text field as well gives us the basic operators: contains, does not contain, equal, and does not equal. So with text field, what happens is you have to enter your inputs, okay, by yourself. Because with date, value, number, what happens is the input is already defined that either of these three values could be possible. But whereas with text field, text could be anything. So if you're trying to search by a particular keyword, that all the records which contain keyword as test, okay, show me that in the output. So you can choose contains test. That means any verbiage written in this description field, right? If it contains test, that particular record will show as an output to me. And same goes for does not contain equal or does not equal. If I choose equals, that means description has just to be test. It cannot be it cannot be test 123 or test 2023. It has to be exactly test. Okay. And then you can even give filter criteria like this and see if you get any output or not with this condition. No. So we also have to ensure that the conditions what we are trying to give is being satisfied, and at least it gives us some kind of output. Okay, if I change from contains and less than 100, let's try to see with this, do we get any output or not? Yes, we get a couple. So these are several different ways how filter criteria in a report can be customized. Okay. Now similarly, I feel like even want to sort out my report based either on ascending order or descending order. Okay, then I can choose the fields like this: first published or value to a field, or I can even add up another which may be the submit date, and I choose an ascending order. So I'll get the output in this fashion. Okay, let's try to see first published and submit date. So here I do see first publish as 7979. So, and you can see the numbering as priority number 1, priority number 2, and then priority number 3, according to the sorting I have made. So first priority or first level of sorting would happen based on first published. You'll see that first published always begins in the most ascending order. Okay, so it begins with 7 9, and even the timestamp is differentiated. There are a bunch created on 7 9s, but it will follow an ascending order based on the timestamp. And then if I try to check submit date, submit date is given third priority. So we may see some dates or some non-synchronization with regards to the ascending order, because here it is 29, now it is 24th, etc. And then value to a field. Now if I want to change it, okay, something like this, I would want to remove the filters from here, or I want to remove the filters from first publish. So now as you can see over here, value to a field, it has been given the first priority now, because I did remove this filter from first publish. And similarly, if I go ahead and change it from value to a field, okay, it will be on submit date now. So submit date will show me the correct output now, like this, all the way in an ascending order. And then first published would be disturbed a bit, so would be value to a field. So when I give this sorting option over here. That means that whichever fields I have chosen, I can choose to put an ascending order to it or a descending order to it. Okay, based on the priority, based on number one, number two, and number three. So I can choose out my sorting of records, or the output what I get in this format. And then since I have removed the sorting, I got rid of the other two options, and then just submit date is applicable over here. And last thing is, let's talk about the display, and then we move to um, configuring relationship or interlinking two reports from different applications and using the keyword search over here. So if I talk about sorting over here, it means that I have already done ascending, descending order grouping, right? Now I talk about display of the sorting what I have done. So as you can see, there are several display formats which are available to me. And how does each of these differ? So let's say I have chosen display as column hierarchical over here. Okay, and I get, my output in this way. Now from hierarchical, I do change to row. So I will get my results in this way in a row format. Then I can change my display again from row format to summary or card or calendar. Okay, I'll go ahead and choose card. So I get my output in this fashion. And then I can go ahead and change it in form of calendar as well. Network graph. Okay, they're all multiple options available to us to choose how we want the output to be, but the most widely used ones are column, flat, and hierarchical. Okay, I'll quickly show you how column, flat, and hierarchical differs. Okay, so let's say this is what I have over here, and I am adding up and choosing the display as column hierarchical. So with hierarchical in place, when I'm adding level 2 or leveled application, I'll have to click on this plus for it to expand. For every record, I'll have to click on plus, and then the fields from other applications or other leveled application or any kind of relation what we have established with this report will get expanded. Whereas with flat, what happens is if I go back here, I choose the report format as flat, all the records will be visible to us in a single line, right? Whether from different leveled application or another application, everything will be straight outright in this kind of way, in this kind of fashion. Okay, there would be strictly no differentiation between two applications or so. You will get the output exactly according to how you see first published and last updated mentioned. So this is about display format. Now I will go ahead and you know do a limit to. So right now what happens is all the records which satisfy this criteria shows us in the output. Now even in that, if I feel like just want top 5 records or top 10 records or so, then I can choose limit to. Okay, the same SQL queries what we execute with Archer, it is directly available in the reporting functionality itself. Return all and limit to. So I choose the count by 10 records. So my first top 10 records will be displayed to me. Okay, so certain records are tied because of the reference application we have given. That's why we are not getting, just first 5 count. Okay, so there are certain linkages with different application. That's why this restriction is not working. But in ideal scenario, um, you can just restrict the limit, or you can just restrict the count with whatever values you feed in. So if you just choose 5, it has to just show you 5. If you choose 10, it has to show you 10. Let's try to see it now. Yeah, now this will work because the linkage has gone away. So now it's simple without any linkage, meaning cross reference field. So I have removed those cross reference field, and as you can see, if I give phi as a limit, I get phi as the output over here. If I choose 10 as the limit, I'll get 10 as the output. I can simply choose to restrict the records as well with uh, return to and limit all. Okay, so this would work from display options over here. Can choose to control that. Similarly, if I want to distribute the records, okay, let's say if I want on every page maximum 10 records to be shown, so I'll choose 10, and if I want 20, 30, all the way till 250. At in one landing page, what we see, maximum 250 records can be accommodated. So now, since we have got maximum 20 records, I can see all 20 in one page. And still, if I keep on increasing, Archer will keep on adding until the count is changed to 250. So maximum records what can be per page is 250. And similarly, if I change to 75, 100, 10, 20, and if I choose 10 over here, then I will have to go on page number 2 to check the remaining. Okay. So this is what record count of written all and limit to would look like. This is what results per page would look like. And then if I feel like I do want my filters as well to be shown in the report, how do I do that? So I go on reports what we have, and then I will go ahead and try to add up the conditions at the top with the help of criteria and date. So I don't have a criteria, so let me just add up one criteria over here as first published last 45 days. Okay, and now let me try to include in the headers the criteria. Now this is used is because if somebody doesn't know what that criteria is, okay, then it gives us an option to see whether these criteria could be adjusted at the top, so that user doesn't have to go on filters and see what the criteria are. They will directly be able to see the criteria from here. This is the reason why we can choose the criteria to be present at the top, and this date will keep on changing the moment you hit on search. So let's say if I come back to this report tomorrow and hit on search, then it will show me 892023. So moving on to the next areas or the next topic is this keyword search. Okay, now if I feel like that I want to specifically search for 2 or 3 records, okay, then how do I do that? So maybe what I can do is I can just copy the tracking ID and put this tracking ID here in the chat in keyword search. Okay, and then just simply put on search. So I'll get only one result. If I choose this content description, and if I put that in keyword search like this into double quotes and I hit on search, then it will highlight and show me that only this record has this exact description. But if I just choose something like test, okay, just choose something like test over here and then hit on search, then I'll see a bunch of records which has to do with this keyword test, right? So I see a couple of them which just has keyword as test in the description. So this is how you can leverage the keyword search over here. So you can enter up a tracking ID, you can enter up a value, you can enter up a description over here, and it will give you respective outputs from keyword search. Then similarly, if I feel like uh, what we spoke yesterday regarding a cross reference field, that from any application A, if you want to establish a relationship to application B, right, for that we need to have a cross reference field in place. So in our case, for application test, we already have a relationship with audit plan. So I feel like that let's choose some of the areas of audit plan as well. Okay, let's choose plan, description, end date, owner, reviewer, start date. Okay, audit plan status. Okay, and then let's try to have a combined output. So with the help of add new relationship, you can do this. Okay, with the help of add new relationship, you can do this where you get the output, okay, in this format. So I can choose the format to flat, and then I can get the output this way. So I see audit plan details, I see audit plan description, end date, start date, owner, where two different application number one, which is application test, and application number two, which is audit plan. Both of them are available to me in a single report. And you may feel like, why do you only see these two records over here? That is because in this particular record, I have chosen some data, okay, for audit plan like this. For the other records, I do not have this data. It is blank. So that's why it is showing me the blank output here. If I put up any data over here as well, it will show me in the result like this. Okay, save and close. So as you can see, I get the output here in this format. So in whichever way you feel like you have the linkage between two applications via cross-reference field, you can use add new relationship in report and then create a custom report which includes information from both the applications. And this does not mean that you can just add one application. You can add up multiple applications over here. You can add a audit plan or any other references you may have in the system. You can choose to take up any application which is reference to your primary application, which is application test, and have a combined report including all the applications. So this is primarily how filter, sorting, display control, adding relationship with other application in terms of reporting would work. Now let me quickly show you how statistical reports, or how reports which has to show us as output in terms of bar graph, pie chart, okay, will show us. So now I am going to create a statistical report in Archer based on any kind of values. So I'm choosing quantity and I'm choosing this statistical mode, and I choose fields like quantity where I have a value. So I choose group by and count of quantity, and I simply remove this and hit on search. Now if I use chart only, I get my output in this way, which I get to know that 22 out of the total has no selection in quantity, 2 have high, 3 have medium, and 5 have low. Then I can even go ahead and change from vertical bar to horizontal bar like this. I can change to a donut shaped graph. like this, where I get the bifurcation and even percentage, that how many records have no selection, what would be a percentage count of it. I can choose a pie chart, more or less the same output as donut, radar, area, line graph. Okay, a bunch of options I have to display my output. I can even choose to color code this from here. I choose the palette, and then if I want, I do want to custom code this. So I get an option to choose, let's say, orange for no selection, red for high, green for medium, and blue for low. And I click on OK. So I get my output this way. And then if I feel like I want charts and data both, then I go ahead and choose chart and data both. So at the top, I see a chart, and then I get a gist or a summary of this chart like this. So this is also a report in Archer, okay, where we can use statistical modes and choose different options like vertical bar, horizontal bar, line graph, area, radar, okay, and they will all be available to us for selection. So these are certain advanced option where if I want, like a stack, I can get output in form of a stack, full stack. I get it like this. Then if I want logarithmic output, this way, Pareto, this is how I see the output as. So it shows me the count as well as the percentage. So this is about statistical, using of reports in Archer. I can even choose multiple value list field and try to get the output as well. So if I choose value to a field as well, group by and count of, and I search in the output, you can get output in this format as well, where the classification over here is based out of quantity, okay, and value over here in form of how many of them are in progress, incomplete, okay, not started, right? So I can do a group by, I can do several combination of group by and count of basically, and I can get the output in form of statistical data like this. So accordingly, you can choose your criterias, you can choose your options, and then you get the output in graphical format and graphical representation. And then again, for statistical drill down options, if I want, I can filter out as well. Okay, that's an additional option. How we saw it for filters, you get statistical drill down options as well over here. Okay, so you can choose as well if you want this as an additional criteria. So this is primarily from a functionality standpoint of reporting. Okay, with reporting in place, these are primarily all the features of how we can create, customize, modify, change, okay, reports in Archer. And majority of the reports in Archer are a combination of data and graph, right? Where mainly data or graphs are used for senior level managers for viewing their dashboards or workspaces, where they would just look at the count. They don't bother to get into details about each of the records. They just want like a pie chart or a bar graph, and based on the updation what is happening, that graphs keep on changing and updating, and they just take a look at the dashboard in Archer. Whereas the normal, which has just got the data, that may be used for risk managers or audit managers, where they can track their day-to-day activities and keep a track on the records which are in progress, not completed, so on and so forth. But both of them are primarily used in terms of reporting. So now we did talk about personal reports. We saw how we can give rights, how we saw all the functionalities. Now let's talk about global reports as well. Now with global reports in place, the functionalities remain the same. Whatever we saw in filters, sorting, display option, right? All of these option remains the same. You get the same feature, you get the same functionality. The only question is, from where do you get the permissible rights for global reporting? Where can I create global reports and how do I modify the global reports? So the answer is, global reports has to be given permission from an application standpoint, and you have to give them option. You have to rather give them report administrator rights. So I go to application, and within the application, as we were talking yesterday, this report administrators, I have to give a user report admin rights. Okay. So if I give report administrator rights and if I try to save it, okay, then I will also have rights to create global reports. If I go on audit planning and quality and application test like this, and I try to save a new report, you'll see that I have both the options enabled now, personal and global. Personal reports, we already saw that we can do it like this. And at the same time, if I want to save a global report, I can choose to save a global report as well. And yes, very important, when choosing a global report, we have to define, right, that do you want to keep this global report open for everyone? Then I can choose everyone as the option. Or if you want to limit this report to a specific group of people or to specific users, then I have to choose it from this list like this. I can choose any user from the list like this, and then based on the selection, only those users will have access to the global report. But ideally, in general scenario, global report is for everyone, because these are most widely and common reports that are used all across the department. Okay, so they are usually for everyone, but again, there is no restriction around choosing the users or specific set of users or groups in the permissioning. So based on the users or groups you select, only those people will get permissions to global report, to see the global report basically. And now when I go ahead and save it, that means I can change it, I can modify this, right? I get all the rights for, let's say I want to remove this, as well, and I do want to hit on search. So I have this 3, 4, 5, 6 fields present, and then I can save the report changes. So my report changes are now done. So this report changes are now done, and I can only see these 6 fields in a global report. So I was able to create a global report, I was able to modify a global report. Okay, all of these changes are possible when I gave report administrator rights to this particular user. Without report administrator rights or privileges, global reports cannot be created in Archer. You have to provide report administrator rights for creating or modifying global reports. And as you can see, I have not given any kind of deletion rights. Okay, I have not given any kind of deletion rights over here. So that ideally means that I should not be able to delete personal reports from the system. Okay, it should ideally mean that. But let's try to go to this user account and let's try to see whether I get the deletion rights or not. So I go on this global reporting, and then I go on application test like this, and I see a lot of reports around this stuff. Okay. So with global report, of course, I have removed the report admin rights. I'll not be able to do it. But with personal reports, you can see this delete option is still available to me, and I can go ahead and delete the report. So that personal report is deleted from my system now. Without giving any access role as well, I was able to go ahead and delete this personal report. See, now because of this deletion, okay, why it happens this way is personal reports, as I said very earlier, that is only accessible by the user who created it. Even as system administrators, we do not have the rights to look at personal reports of any user who has created. Okay, they also do not have any rights towards personal reports. So based on that, Archer has given this additional privilege in the system that whosoever creates a personal report, by default they give them deletion rights as well. Because if tomorrow they want to delete it from the system, only they are going to delete it. Nobody else would have the rights and ability to delete it. That's why by default we get deletion option for personal reports. Okay, this is one of the important feature or important criteria when it comes to personal reports. So with this we conclude our reporting area for today, and next topic is data import. Again, very important feature of Archer. I believe majority of you are clear with reporting, or you have got a good understanding about Archer reporting now. And I've covered almost all the functionalities of a report except very few, right? But apart from that, everything from reporting in Archer is covered. Now let's move to a very interesting topic and probably one of the most crucial features of Archer, which is data imports. Okay, data import, the name itself import suggests is that whatever external data you have present, okay, maybe in form of an Excel file or Word file or CSV file, and if you want to import that data in through the system, maybe you have 100 record, 1000 records, you have a bunch. Okay, you have a bunch of records present in the system. So how do we do that? Okay, how do we do that? So this is with the data import functionality of Archer. Okay, let's try to get into the depth of each of these. And let's try to see how data import works in Archer. What is the file format we need to prepare? What are the format which is acceptable by Archer, etc. So I'll choose application as application test now. And what I'm going to do is I either extract the file, or if I tend to update the data within this, fields, I tend to, export this in form of an Excel file or a CSV file. Okay. And then modify the data on my side and then do the uploading in Archer. So this usually case happens is that as administrators, we do not care much about the data. Data does not belong to administrators. It's on the business side. Business users are primarily concerned with the data and they provide you the data in real time scenarios. We do not bother about what data should be present on which field, what should be the description, etc. That is not the job of Archer administrators. What our job is to see how we can perform the data import. Is the format given by the user appropriate? uh, Whether the file, whether the data, whether the fields, namings of the fields is correct or not. That is what our primary concern should be as Archer engineers or consultants. So there are multiple ways to do a data import. I'm going to simply export this. okay, in form of a CSV file. I'll do this excluding of HTML tags, and I'll simply download this report. I'll click here and I open up the file like this. So I get a bunch of records here in the system. And now I feel like that, I do want to update certain permissions. I do want to update certain description over here. I want to add up values over here. I want to change the quantity. I want to change the email address. Okay. How do I do that? So I have extracted this data from the system, and probably I will just keep one record for simplicity, and I'll remove the rest from the system. So I've deleted all the rows and I've just kept one record, and I will keep tracking ID as well. Now we know that first published is a system generated field, as we were talking yesterday, and this cannot be modified or changed. So there is no point of keeping first published. So I'll go ahead and remove that. Okay. And then I will go ahead and try to choose and update these fields. So let's think about description. So description, rather than test state, I want to change that to test data import functionality. I choose that as a description. Then date format, I told you yesterday, it is MMDDYYYY. Only this format can be accepted in Archer. No other formats except this would be accepted in Archer. So I remove this and I try to choose, let's say, some other date, 8th of August, sorry, 7th of August and 2023. I update the submit date to this one, then value to a field. Now I need to see what exact values are present for me, and then amongst that I can choose it. I cannot choose any random value, whatever I feel like. Whatever we have defined in terms of values on the back end, only those values would be available for me to select. Okay, so let's talk about some values, value to a field over here, and I do have not started, in progress, and incomplete. I feel like I do want to choose incomplete. So I copy this. Okay, I copy this incomplete and I paste it over here. Now, please note that if there is any kind of space like this, if there is any kind of case sensitivity, like a space after a space before, or something like this, incomplete, or maybe this, okay, Archer will treat that as a separate value. Archer only understands if this is incomplete like this, then you have to provide in the file incomplete exactly in this manner. No other format can be, uh, you know, accepted or used except this one. If you provide any other format, then Archer will treat that as a separate value, and Archer will create a garbage value on the back end, which again is a problem for us. And we will have to go through unnecessary deletion of values. So very important to take this in mind, that whatever values exactly, be it with space, be it with capital, be it with small letters, be it with uh, hyphen or dash in between, choose this value list field exactly in the same order and same way. Okay. Now xref1 is a cross reference field, which is again a cross reference to audit plan. So for moment I'm using this one exactly the way it is, right? I'm keeping this one way it is, and then when we do the next import, where I'll add up couple of values, multiple values, okay, in this field will change it at that time. First, let me go ahead and simply show you a basic import, then we get into a little bit complex import. Now here I have chosen low. Now instead of low, I am choosing medium. Okay, so I'll exactly choose medium the way it is written over here, and test email address, what I have over here. is this test@gmail.com, which I want to update it through infosec@train.com, something like this. Or maybe let me enter up a valid email address, test123@gmail.com, like this. I do some kind of modifications in the data, and now I go ahead and do the imports. Firstly, I'll clear off my Excel sheet. I'll remove all the unwanted rows horizontally and vertically and ensure that only one record is present in the system. And then I choose my file as save as, and then I will only choose it in CSV format. No other format except comma delimited is accepted in Archer. Okay, so ensure that you are not choosing any other format except comma delimited in Archer. Okay, so this is done. I have saved this file and I am going to close it. Now, closing the file is very important because if you try to do a data import, okay, with a file open, it will throw us an error. So now let's go to this import file, and I'll just show you guys how it looks like right now before the import and how it would look like after the import. So I copy this tracking ID, and this is the record. I already have it open, 439354, and as you can see, quantity is low over here in the file. We have given medium. Then other changes what we have made is in form of submit date. Submit date I have chosen uh, 7th of August 2023. Then I have chosen changes in the description, right? At least these three changes are there, and also the email address. So at least I have made modification to this four changes. Okay, this is right now. This is how it looks like right now. Now let's do a data import and let's observe how the changes are being done. So I go to my settings tab as usual. I go to integration and then I go to data imports, and I'll close the file. And within the data imports, I choose my application, which in our case is application test, like this. And I hit up enter, and then I choose this as level 1 internal auditors because we are doing changes in internal auditors. So I click on browse and I click on add new, and then simply I choose the file import one, open, and OK. Now you are not supposed to make any changes here in the formatting. We have created the file in such a way that we don't need any kind of changes. It's already with comma, semicolon, wherever if there is a path or so, backslash is included. So don't try to consider any changes over here. Don't do any sort of changes. These are all the configuration which remains the way it is. So we choose the import file over here. We click on next, and then since I am updating it, okay, this record is already existing in the system. I'm just doing certain kinds of updates over here. So I will choose the option as update existing records, and then I also have to choose on which unique parameter I can update this. So in my case, it would be tracking ID because tracking ID is unique for every record in Archer. Okay, so I'll choose tracking ID as the unique updater for me, which helps me identify that only for this particular record Archer has to do this modification what I've given in the file. So I have my tracking ID listed against tracking ID, description against description, submit date against submit date, value to a field against value to a field. And then if I go to xref1, since it's a reference field, it will show me up this way: xref1 into bracket the application where it is referenced to. So I choose audit plan. Okay, and then I have quantity in place, which shows me the quantity and then email address. So basically all the fields what I have in my file have been mapped. And if sometimes it is not mapped, you click on this option like this and then choose against which field this needs to be mapped. So I've done the changes over here. And now I will simply go ahead and click on next and do the import. And I'll wait for this import to be finished. Okay. Now I got this as a success. One rows of one succeeded, zero failed. If there have been any kind of failure, if there would have been any kind of failures from here, I would see an error message. Maybe the formatting is wrong, or maybe I have not given the right data, or the file format is incorrect. It will throw an error as well, and I'll show you that too. Okay, I'll show you the error as well. But for now, this import has been successful from what we have done. So I will now go to the record and see whether my updates has been done on the record or not. So I go to this record and I click on view. I again click back on view to see the changes. I do see quantity has been changed to medium. Then I do see my description has been updated to test underscore data underscore import functionality. Then I do see value has also been changed to incomplete, and email has also been updated. So that means my import has been successful and it has updated the data and the record. So I can consider my import has been successful. I was able to import everything I had in my file. So this data import is very widely used when you have bunch of records to update. If you have 500,000 records to update, okay, it may take some time for the system to update everything, but nobody is going to manually go ahead and update or change the description, or even the slightest thing. Nobody is manually going to each of the record and keep updating. So that's why data import is very important for us to make modification, to make changes, everything in bulk, because you just have to prepare the file or get the file from a business user and then do the import in Archer. Important for us is to know the formattings and know how to do the import, and you are all good to go. So now let me try to show you how would an error look like if you have made any kind of mistakes. Okay, so I'm using the same file and I'm changing the date functionality like this, choosing 872023. Okay, and then I am giving a wrong email address, test@test.com, something like this. Okay, then I save the file again as import one, and I close it. Okay, that's done. So now I go back to the Archer and do the same process again of data import. So I click here and then I go to application, which is application test in our case, and level 1 internal auditors. I choose the file, import one, open, and OK. And then update existing records, and I'll choose tracking ID. So I have everything mapped over here. Okay, instead of xref1, I choose xref1 over here. uh, how come this date did not save? Showing me 87. This is correct format. 1 second. Or maybe the file hasn't been saved. Sorry, let's do it again. 8, or let's do it this way: 202398, something like this. Okay, it is. Yeah, now this is accepting, so I'll choose it this way. I'm sorry, I'm just checking how do I change the format of the date. So I'm just trying to change the format of the date. Just give me a moment so that we can get the exact error. I don't think I have that in my Excel, but let's try to choose it this way. Okay, so that which is not a correct format, at least we can get to know what the error is over here. Okay, so let's try to do this. So I'm saving this. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and do the import in a similar way. Choose next update and then tracking ID. So now the date is in the wrong format, and I will choose it this way: audit plan, and do next and then do the import. Okay, seems like Archer has accepted that date in the MMDD YYY format only. Let's go ahead and check it out. Let's try some other way of choosing the date. Yeah, Archer has accepted this 782023. Never mind. Let's try to do this in Excel format. Since this was a CSV, I'll try to save this as an Excel format. But ideally, when you enter up a wrong date, Okay, Archer will throw up an error. Archer will not allow you to create the record or update the record in the system. Now this has been shared as an saved as an Excel file. I'll name this as data import v1. Open. Okay, so Archer directly gives you an error over here that file format, only allowed file format is .csv. So only with .csv you are able to import that. So similarly, I mean for the date field, somehow my Excel is just changing the format automatically to mmddyyyyy. Else, if you try to enter the different format even from here on the record in date, it will throw an error. And similarly would be the case with Archer as well. When we do try to do an import and I enter up the dates like this, and when I try to save it, again Archer will throw an error. And similarly, error will also be observed when while performing a data import, that this is not a correct format of the date. So all these things are minor things, but we have to be careful when we try to do a data import in Archer. Okay, it may seem very minor things, but uh, it takes up a lot of time and energy on admin side to clear off these things. So quality check on data is very important when you are doing data import. Now let's try to make data import a little bit more complex. Okay. Now let's try to choose multiple values, okay, on a record, and how do we import that in Archer. So here is one of the example. If you want multiple values to be present in Archer, okay, what you can do is you have to put up a semicolon in between for multiple values, and only then and then multiple values will be accepted in Archer. So let's say I am choosing quantity as high, low, and medium. So in order for me to have all the three values, okay, I have to choose and put up a semicolon in between without any kind of spaces in between, exactly in this same format. Similarly, if I'm trying to populate a stakeholder, I have to choose my format as last name, comma, space, first name, in this way. This is the format of using any stakeholder's name in Archer. If you want to populate any stakeholders in Archer, you can choose the naming convention in this way. You will see 25 as the last name and first name as test. And this is exactly I have chosen in the file. Last name, comma, space, first name. Okay. And for multiple entries, you have to choose this way as the options. You have to put up a semicolon and then do the upload. If you put up a comma or so, it will throw you an error for sure. And now I think would be a good example to show you how error would look like. Okay, so let's try to do it this way. Okay, so I am going to firstly do an import with this file, and I'll try to choose another record so that we can see the updates. Choose one application as test 456, and then I'll choose let's choose this record and updates. Okay, so I have none of the quantities selected here. I have not chosen any kind of submit date over here. User group list is blank over here. So we'll see a lot of updates over here in this application. So I've chosen this tracking ID, and I'm going ahead and performing the update now. I'll clear off everything and then I'll just save the record as data import. Okay, and let's try to do the upload. So I go on data imports, I go on filters and then I choose application as test 456 in this case. Browse, add new and choose the file. Okay, and update the records. I'll go ahead and choose tracking ID from here. So tracking ID is mapped, submit date is mapped, user group list is mapped, numbers, quantity, all of this is mapped. Again, what I have to map is this CRA. So again, a reference field. Now everything is mapped and I'll simply go ahead and do the import and I'll wait for the output. Okay, so my import is successful now. Now let's go to the record and let's try to see the changes. So I'm here and I can see submit date has been populated, quantity has been populated as well, users have been populated, numeric field has been populated, and I've got all the multiple entries which I was looking for. So with multiple entries in place, you have to choose a semicolon in between and use the values, you know, what you have on the back end. So this is how multiple entries upload would look like in Archer. Okay, Archer will do this upload with multiple entries in this format. And now let me try to do an upload with some of the wrong data and see how that goes. So now what I'll do is I'll just remove and use this name in this format. I'll choose like a comma in between. Okay, and I'll remove this way, and here also I will choose it this way, and I save the file. So now I have done that and I'll do the import again in Archer. So I will again go to application, sorry, 456, click on browse, add new and do, choose data import, open up, okay, and next. Update existing record, user group, quantity, numeric, and then CRA, and I'll choose tracking ID, okay, and I'll do the import now. Yep. So this is the error what we were expecting, and it clearly gives me an indication that the value in column 3 cannot be converted. The item will be dropped. Again, value in column 3 cannot be converted and it will be dropped. So I get an idea that there is some issue, okay, in column 3 of my file, and basically the field validation has failed and the output is failed over here, faulted basically. So I go to column number 3, okay, and column number 3 is this user group list. So user group list, this is basically a wrong format. So Archer identified that this format is not correct and did not allow me to do the upload. So that's why I get an error like this as faulted, and I'll have to make these corrections and redo the upload. So even if I go on the back end, okay, I will see the users are how it was previously loaded. It has not impacted, it has not been impacted with any changes, and simply I got an error over here which states that this format is not correct. Now if I keep again the semicolon in between and do the upload, it will work exactly the way we were expecting. Similarly, CRA as well has not been changed. It has remained the way it is. Okay, because Archer did not go at this level only to test and see whether there is an error or not. Now again, this is a wrong format, and whatever we uploaded previously with a semicolon is still present on the record. Okay, so none of the changes have actually happened on the system. Okay, and this is how an error would look like when we come across situation or wrong data like this. And similarly, if you want to do creates, then ideally it should not have any kind of tracking id. Tracking id is when we use to update the existing records in the system. When we do not want to update anything, okay, we just want to create something which is new, then there is no need of using trackings id. Okay, there is no need of using tracking id at all, because you are creating something from scratch. So with all these all these in place, okay, with all these in place, what we can conclude is with data import, you can bulk create and bulk update records. If you want bulk update, then you have to choose fields like tracking id or any other unique identifier. Okay, we can bulk update the records beginning tracking id as the key field, and if we want, you can choose any other fields as well which are unique in nature. Okay, and if you want to create something new, then all you have to do is put up the data. Simply put up the data in respective fields and do the bulk upload, so all new records will be created in Archer.